Well, I felt great. You're great. You're right. I don't like, I'm performing I really feel like I'm at my peak. I've just continually got better every year because I just look at my weaknesses every year and try and improve on that. So, I love the series. I love all the drivers in it and the competition, the teams. You rarely go away from an IndyCar weekend, thinking that it was a boring race or you didn't have fun. Like, there's always action no matter where you are in the field. Obviously, if you're winning, boring race is nice, but to win in that series, just to get a win, it's so difficult. So, you got to really enjoy it when you do get to win, because you never know when your last one is. You just don't. And so I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I mean, I love when you speak about the strength of the field that we have, because, I mean, I felt like I left everything on the track, and, like, we finished 22nd. Now, we did get wrecked once, and there was a lot going on, but, like, you're still fighting. Ganassi car is still behind me, and you fight with guys like, right in front of me. There's David Maluk, people who are just literally on the front row last week. Like, there's people all throughout the field that are so good, and a race like Portland as well, with no yellows and kind of the early yellow, it just meant that you could kind of run qualifying laps the rest of the race. Like, there wasn't really a ton of strategy. We pitted early, so we didn't have to save as much fuel. So, like, we're doing qualifying laps the entire day. And when there's no yellows, you cannot make a single mistake, because a 1 second loss or a 2 second loss or a 10-second loss, if you get spun out once, like, that completely changes your day. I mean, is that something that I think people, again, still need to have a lot more respect for in our current state of our series?
I mean, our competition, there is no other series in the world that's as tight. I would say NASCAR is extremely tight. It's a different discipline. But as far as road course, as far as the diversity of tracks in our series, when you look at practice, I was a 10th and 1.4 tenths off, so a tenth and a half basically, and I was 10th in practice. I mean, 1 second covered 27 cars. It was so incredible. To get qualifying right, you have to absolutely nail every single sector. There can't even be a slight misshift or anything. I mean, our series is incredibly tough. A lot of great parody. The only thing you can change is dampers, and everyone's getting pretty close on that anyway. So
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But small differences are big. A small difference, but ultimately, in IndyCar, 2 tenths off is a lot. If you're 2 tenths off, there's a lot of cars between you and the guy at the front. So,
you saw that with Joseph Newgarden too, complaining at the end of his qualifying lap because he hit the hard limiter, right? And that's at the end of the lap, and it's but if you spend just a hair of time on the limiter, like, you could lose 2-3 mile an hour, and all of a sudden you go from starting in the top 10 to outside the top 10, or the fast 6 to outside the fast 6.
Yes, not transferring. Just hundredths matter. Hundredths matter. The amount of detail that you go into these days between sessions to understand where to get, basically hundredths, half tenths. They would constantly, like, a half tenth now in a sector is a big deal to us. Look, you're a half tenth down, you go and look at Dartfish, you look at the videos, data, telemetry from the whole field, and really understand why that is. And you see, it's ultra competitive. I think people in Europe see that now. Like, you've had a lot of F2 guys come over, and people who've raced in Europe, and you got Grosjean, Ericsson, guys that have been in F1, and they're not, Grosjean's amazingly quick, so is Marcus, but they're not just destroying everyone in our field. It just wouldn't happen. There's no one from over there who's going to come over and destroy this field. I mean, it's just so tight. And it's such enjoyable racing, because you can wheel bang with these cars. They're strong. And the parity is a big deal, to be honest. Like, parity, if you look at Formula One, that's one of their biggest issues.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in 2 full-on wrecks in 2 weeks in a row, and we've still done all the laps in the race. Like, it's kind of crazy to see the battering that these cars can take, for sure. Obviously, there was a couple interesting incidents, per se. When you look back on the race, I want to talk about the first lap. you got the lead right at the beginning. Were you surprised that Santino wasn't defensive? I mean, it was pretty
No.
respectful racing there. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of surprised he didn't take the inside because I feel like that's kind of where you really want to defend in turn one, but it seemed like there was a lot of respect there.
There was a lot of respect because we talked about it, and he basically told me where he's going to go. I said, if you give me a draft, I'm not going to pass you. He said, yeah, and I said, I'll just pull up beside you, but I'll break early to let you have the corner. I said, but if Palou's on me, that's a different story. It becomes a little more difficult. But he said it like I broke early, but he said I braked early, man. I'm sorry, like because I felt bad that I didn't ended up coming out in front. But then I gave him a lot of room through one, and then I didn't even realize I actually pinched him a little bit on the exit. I didn't want to. I just wanted to give him as much room because he was so respectful. Because he absolutely could have gone to the inside, protected, and come out in front. But he knew his goal was to finish in the top 10 in the championship. And for me, it was a must-win situation. So, we talked about it. I'm good friends with Santino. He's a good guy, good teammate, gives us good data. And I actually owe him one for that. I do. I owe him a favor in some way at some point. Yeah,
I mean, there's obviously some great respect there between that relationship that has now started with Foyt and Penske. And, I mean, it's clearly evident. I mean, you guys had a very, very strong qualifying effort, both ends of the operation, right? Foyt and, I mean, you battled with Santino for pole, which is, I mean, battling with you for pole and qualifying, I mean, I think for anyone, that's probably one of the most incredible achievements there could be because you're the master of qualifying, right? So has it been impressive to see that come up of the AJ Foyt Racing group as you guys have worked together?
Yeah, it has. It's obviously we gained for Indianapolis from them, and they've gained in a lot of other areas from us. But and I mean, Santino's lap was phenomenal in qualifying. Like, it was only a half tenth slower than my best lap of that session on new tires. So he absolutely put that together. It was cool to see him get a pole, and cool for Foyt to get a pole and be running at the front. It's been a good relationship. And it'll be, I think, stronger again next year with Malukas going there. And I'm guessing hopefully they keep Santino and have some seriously good information coming across.
Yeah, that's important. And again, when you say something like that about someone in qualifying, like I still never forget this comment that you said to me after Q1 at Indy GP a long time ago. I was quickest and you were second. And still to this day, I was like, oh, Will Power said that was a really good lap. So that means a lot to hear something from you in qualifying. And to know that, hey, if you're doing a better lap than Will in a qualifying format, that means that you've done your job correctly. So that I'm sure that's really cool for that group and for him to hear. And again, credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
pole at an IndyCar race is a real challenging thing to do.
Extremely difficult. Yes.
Extremely.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the race. You guys obviously essentially just managing a gap. I mean, I kind of want to tell people though, like from a fan's perspective, it probably looks easy, but there's a lot that you're managing, and there's a lot that you have to understand. You can't lose any time in the pits. You can't lose any time in traffic because, again, there's traffic. I mean, I even had you behind me at one point. I was like, I couldn't let you by because I'm trying to make my strategy work, but we were not a lap down yet, but it was one of those things that, again, you were kind of managing that and then knowing that I was going to pit, and then so I would get out of the way. So tell kind of folks what you're having to deal with from a leader's perspective and how much you have to manage.
Yeah, you're managing fuel, tire, because you don't want to drop off hard. So you got to be very on top of what end is going off at the moment, and I got to be ahead of that. You're watching that gap behind to Palou, and then obviously you encounter lapped cars or off sequence cars that if you can get a car between you and Palou, that's a big deal. Then you've got a gap. You've suddenly got a gap enough to do the undercut and not get beaten on his overcut. So I was constantly, watching that gap, conserving tires, and also pretty conscious of fuel because I knew my worry was he's going to overcut and get us here. I felt like we had the strongest car for sure on reds. On blacks, I struggled a little at I would say the first team were probably about even, but he was able to close up if I got close to a car. But yeah, it's not boring from my perspective. It's very intense the whole time. I'm never sitting there thinking I'm going to win this race. I'm thinking, man, he's going to get us here. What's the strategy? Asking the team, do you still want me to save fuel? Should I go up? Should I push? When's this guy in front pitting? You know, all these details are constantly coming to you, and you've got to, you know, that's what I always tell my team is I just want relevant information because there are so many different levels of pushing. You know, do I risk it with this guy? No, he's pitting in 5 laps. Okay, I don't have to. You know, should I use fuel just to pull a gap enough to pit, pit 3 seconds ahead of the guy so you can beat the overcut? So it's that is constantly going through my mind. I'm constantly measuring how hard should I push, how much risk should I take. All the time. That is just how the race plays out. So in your mind, it's very busy. From the outside, it looks pretty calm and easy, but it's nothing like that.